Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Thursday night. And we begin tonight with new reporting here after the deadly shootings in Atlanta. 3 different spas targeted, 8 people killed, 6 of them women of Asian descent. Tonight we have now learned the suspect bought the gun on the day of the attack. He's charged with 8 counts of murder, and with fear growing among the Asian American community, outrage growing across this country tonight, asking what is being done to stop the hate. Tonight we are learning more about the victims, including Emily Tan. She owned one of the businesses. Police are trying to reach the families of several other women who worked at the spas. The surveillance showing the suspect, Robert Aaron Long, his own parents, tipping off police after seeing the surveillance. The shootings prompting an outpouring of sorrow and outrage in Atlanta and across the nation. We have been reporting here on the increase in attacks on Asian Americans. On Capitol Hill today, the House holding its first hearing on anti-Asian discrimination in 3 decades. At the White House tonight, the President ordering the flag to be lowered to half staff. And news tonight involving the sheriff's captain, who will no longer be the spokesperson on this case after what he said and serious questions about a post on social media.
And I can't find a seconder usually when I propose this, but I don't care. I don't need a seconder. My own opinion is enough for me, and I claim the right to defend it against any consensus, any majority, anywhere, any place, any time. Anyone who disagrees with this can pick a number, get online, and kiss my ass.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than the legal services provided by other lawyers. I'm Harry Steele, backwoods Southern lawyer. Got my partners in crime with me today. Mr. Ripp's in studio. How are you, Paul?
Very good, very good.
And Mr. Russian, you out there in Texas?
We holding it down in Houston as usual.
So you got your vaccine yet, man?
Not yet. Still on the list.
All right. Well, I'm eligible. I'm trying to find a J&J right now because I don't want to have to go back. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know about that one. I know they just announced one in Fairhope somewhere, grocery store or something.
Well, there's the first Alabama clinic in North Baldwin County is happening right now in at Coastal Alabama Community College up in Bay Minette. All right, guys, it's been a long ride with Ronan and McSharry, and we finally come to the end of the story, or at least the end of the legal story.
I guess.
And looking back, it all kind of makes sense, doesn't it, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, it's always predictable the way that this has started out. I'll say it again. I do not have any idea what Mr. McSharry knows that the judges and lawyers and everybody do not want us to know, but it's got to be pretty big for everybody to stick their neck out for this guy. It's just unreal that he was able to wiggle out of the assault charge with the help of the city attorney. And then he faces an intoxication charge while he is already on parole from a previous assault and intoxication charge. And they give him 1 year unsupervised probation.
So, Raines, the riddle of the week, how does a McSharry case happen? And my position is it's apathy, a lack of interest or concern. What do you think?
I think there are power brokers and there are power managers in that area that hide behind the law. And they made this case, of course, in court. They made it about the law, but they also made it to where someone with apparently something that they can use for leverage, they made it about the law so somebody that had something could just walk away pretty well unscathed. It's apparent to me as an outside observer who's seen things like this happen again and again in cultural vacuums in Mississippi and East Texas and Southern Alabama and Southern Louisiana, that the local barman who's got something on everybody, they end up with a slap on the wrist.
Or the gal that cut everybody's hair.
Yeah, they end up with a slap on the wrist because nobody wants them to get in front of a camera and say, well, I know so-and-so did this and did that. This is just another case of that. And I don't care what McSharry has to say to me or anybody else. That guy's a scumbag. And if you continue to support him, you're a scumbag too. And if you just sit idly by and agree with every court decision that comes along that supports him, guess what? Scumbag.
Well,
So I want people to understand that's how I personally feel about it.
well, the apathy part is right. And it's the citizens of the community of Fairhope. Where are the Republican women of Baldwin County? Where are the women associations?
I don't see anybody clutching their pearls going,
really?
oh my goodness.
I mean, where are the protests? This is the second time a woman has been assaulted in Baldwin County, and somebody has just walked away from it. And that's the outrage I see. Yesterday, Mr. McSharry was able to go the day after court because he was on probation. He was able to go right to his business, the Irish pub, and celebrate St. Patrick's Day and have a day of it. And no justice was served at all. Now, this is the fourth incident. This certainly is going to happen again. You watch. But this also goes to show you.
It's probably going to happen to you or Raines.
Well, no, but I mean, this goes exactly to what we saw last week. Last week, when we saw them appoint a councilman to replace another councilman before public participation, eliminated the public having anything to do with it. The same thing here. Throw me out of the courtroom so where I can't be in there to see it.
Well,
I mean, I'm an advocate for her.
We'll get to that. So, some other interesting extremist information.
We'll roll back to that later.
Well, yeah, we're definitely not done with that topic. The Guardian says racist extremism poses the most deadly terrorist threat to the U.S.
Okay.
I throw that proposition on the floor and open it for debate.
I agree.
That should be our number one terrorist concern in the United States is homegrown white supremacy.
In the United States, we're talking about, yes.
Okay, well, I would disagree, but that's my humble opinion.
Okay.
Right?
Well,
you got a position on that?
Oh, absolutely. I look back over the last 4 years and I read intelligence briefs and I follow intelligence sites and I am an active player in the U.S. intelligence game. And the first thing I'll tell you is that I haven't seen any reports of Islamic terrorism in the United States in 4 years. I haven't seen any reports of Malaysian terrorism in the United States in 4 years. I haven't seen any reports of ISIS blowing anything up in the United States in the last 4 years. What I have seen are emboldened white supremacists committing crimes rampantly in this country. So I'm going to agree with the U.S. intelligence experts who say at this time, that's what poses the most immediate threat.
In the United States.
Because we die by data, not by cultural tropes. And so I would wholeheartedly.
Are we talking about threats to property, lives? What are we talking about? Like just terrorist activity?
Threats across the
because
board.
I would imagine that the people in downtown Portland have a pretty good damn idea of what domestic terrorism is, and because they don't fit your mold, they aren't branded as such.
Well, you don't know that they're not.
The question is, if you want to make an ad hominem argument in that particular vein, I'll ask, Portland is one city in the United States, and the people that are committing acts of terror in that city are one small group of people in the United States. I'm thinking nationwide. For every one terrorist in Portland, there's 20 of them in Houston.
There's 20 Israelis
50 of them
for every Eric Rubin, in my opinion.
There's 1,000 of them in Central Texas. I look at threat as threat, not as a definite identifier of a specific thing.
Yeah.
That's the difference between a threat assessment and an action assessment. The threat is from the alt-right, and the alt-right is unequivocally white supremacist.
Well,
It has been since
this
day
is
one.
quickly devolving into what I was afraid of. And
What, facts?
Ray, you're entitled to your opinion. You and I are diametrically opposed on this issue. I think it is the furthest thing from the truth. It fits the narrative of the people who are in charge.
I'd be closer to Raines' opinion.
Fair enough. So Biden has urged Congress to pass hate crime legislation in response to violence against Asian Americans. Now, there's no substance to this other than he urged Congress to swiftly pass hate crime legislation to address the rise of discrimination and violence against Asian Americans during the COVID-19 pandemic. So as a lawyer, I have a fundamental problem with us giving a particular group of people a particular protection for a particular period of time. I mean, it sounds to me like during the COVID-19 pandemic. So when it's no longer the pandemic, this hate crime statute sunsets.
I'll wait till
I'm really confused.
The legislation's not even written yet.
Yeah, but we're
If
talking
you,
about and hopping on planes heading to Atlanta right now. The president should be landing right about now in Atlanta to go comfort the family. So then we had an anti-Asian hate hearing yesterday where Representative Grace Ming just lost her business.
You know,
She got mad, started screaming, crying.
well, the other thing too is everybody keeps saying China, China. You know, Asia is a continent. I think it has 2/3 of the world's population, and they're
10% smarter than you and I.
And they're
On average.
Taiwanese, Vietnamese, all types of people throughout Asia. And some people have a tendency of looking at someone that looks Asian and they're all China. So, you know, when you talk about China people, you need to know what people are what. I think
You know
this
who hate to be called Asians, Paul?
right.
You
Anti
know what groups of people hate to be called Asians?
What?
Russians and Turks.
yeah.
Oh,
They absolutely hate to be called Asians. Turks hate to be called Asians. People from Turkey, they absolutely hate it. But there's an entire country of Russians who are Asian. There's an entire country of people from India who are Asian. There's an entire country of there are multitudes of countries in the Middle East and the stands that are all Asian.
Well, I've always lived in a country where the punishment, the measure of the crime was measured in the damage done, and the jury or the judge could take into consideration the person's motivation for committing that crime and passing some kind of sentence. But this whole idea of a thought crime, a hate crime, because of your motivation, we're going to lock you up for 10 additional years. It's un-American, and I'll leave it there. I'm sure that Representative Grace Ming has been through a lot in her life, and me as someone who's never walked in her shoes, I'm sure I have no right in criticizing her for her losing her business during a congressional hearing. So the FBI director says the Atlanta shooting does not appear to be racially motivated, even though we fueled the jet and the president's now in advocating hate crime legislation and gone to assuage the anguish of all the people. Now, they were murdered. Do not think that I don't understand the gravity of the situation. And a mass shooting would probably get the president on a plane anyway. Probably even the Deuce would have gotten on a plane for that. Okay. But the idea that this narrative is that this guy did this because they were Asian, the FBI says that's not true.
Well, let's break down the facts as they would appear in court, Harry. How many victims?
8.
How many of them were white?
I think 1.
I think 2 were not Asian.
Right.
2 were not Asian.
So 2 of them weren't Asian. 6 of them were. Anybody else injured?
I think a couple were injured, and I think it's something like 98% of the massage parlors are run by Asian.
And maybe in that region. Was the last church shooting we had racially motivated?
I don't.
Was the last
I don't know
school
what
shooting we
you're
had?
talking about.
The
So
last school shooting that
specific.
happened.
We're in
was
court.
racially motivated.
I don't know. I don't think I think the one that we covered where Jack blew the sumbitch's head off was not. He was just crazy.
Right.
Jack
That was
Wilson out in
one guy.
Texas, our hero, got the right guy at the right time with the right gun, with the right training. Yeah, that wasn't racial. The last one we talked about on this podcast was not. So, but
correct.
Could be the last one was. My God, we might need church resource officers, Rains.
No.
Not just school resource officers, church resource officers.
No, not until churches start paying taxes. They don't get shit.
Right.
So I guess my point is, if the overwhelming majority of people that died in this situation had been white, would it be considered a racially motivated crime?
Rains, your argument about your uncle that lived across from the strip joint, the one that got the communicable disease or whatever, is a perfect example of this. This young man, this crazy person, told the FBI and everybody else who would listen, the reason he shot these people is because they were sex workers, and he's some kind of religious fanatic. Now, you trying to make it about race, I don't understand it.
I wonder how many.
But it's very posh to do so. I congratulate you. It's posh.
I think you've again missed my forest for the trees. I'm most decidedly not making it racial. The fact is, if those people had been white, it wouldn't be considered a racially motivated crime. If they had all happened to be black sex workers, do you think it would have been considered a racially motivated crime?
I don't know. Have you guys ever been to the Platinum Club in Atlanta?
Yep.
Okay, I have too.
Yeah.
And so right next door to it, and I'll say this: there were of the young ladies dancing, it was about the same ratio. I mean, it was like most of the dancers were minorities, right? It's that part of town, and so next door is one of the strip joints that this guy went to and shot everybody up.
Strip joint?
No.
It's a massage parlor next door. One of the places that got shut up. If you say you've been to the Platinum Club in Atlanta, it's across the parking lot.
Oh, well, that's been 20 years.
Well, yes, probably been longer than that for me. I won't say who all I went with, my old boss.
What I'm saying is that regardless of whether or not it was racially motivated, we are in a climate where racially motivated crimes are prevalent.
Are possible.
So
just like they were possible 200 years ago.
Making is that this incident may not be racially motivated. However, it's encapsulated in a racial format.
But people selling newspapers want you to think
it allows for an opportunity to address the underlying racial problems we're having in this country, which are undeniable, and say, you know what, we'll take this opportunity to say we stand in solidarity with you, and we do mourn with you, and this nation mourns any crime of this magnitude.
No doubt.
And are we
doubt.
Are we going to frame it?
But to use it to fearmonger is my problem. To say that he's obviously a white supremacist, he's just a crazy person.
At no point has any statement come from the White House or from our government that says this person was apparently a racially motivated crime and that's why we're going. It's an opportunity.
I'm going to throw it into this. I'm going to clip this video right here and I'm going to show it. So anyway, keep going.
That's it.
There is a term that I found in the Urban Dictionary, and it is rub-n-tug. Are you familiar with that term?
I've heard.
Yes, of course.
It's a massage parlor where a gentleman goes for whatever. And that is what this young man is saying, that was his motivation.
Yep.
So
there's two kinds of massage facilities in this country. There are licensed, legitimate spa and massage companies.
They're the ones that hurt you, and they're the ones that don't hurt you.
And then there are the ones that are fronts for sex workers. It's a very simple distinction. If you can see in the windows, it's very possibly a legitimate place. If you can't see in the windows, there's absolutely very little possibility that it's a legitimate place. So call them what you want. I won't get into the human trafficking aspect of this, which is 99% of it.
Exactly. I appreciate you being candid about that.
We cannot, as a nation, we cannot, as a people, stand up and say, I feel bad for these people that died. And in the same breath say, but I don't feel bad for the people that survived. This is a problem in this country. It is 99% human trafficking, which is modern slavery. And if you have a problem with these workers being killed for whatever reason, but don't have a problem with the fact that the overwhelming majority are exploited, then you have a moral issue.
That would be the better story as opposed to a hate crimes motive. Where, you know, who more about the victims? Were any of them trafficked? I mean, that would be something to know. But hell, Range, that's real reporting. I mean, the guy that wrote all these articles we're looking at, he did that from his easy chair with his laptop in his lap. He didn't go talk to anybody. So the Georgia Sheriff's Department's under fire after an official says spa shooting suspect had a really bad day. And obviously this guy,
very poorly worded. That was an absolute disgrace to say that.
Absolutely it was. But you know what? There ain't no crime against being disgraceful or being dumb.
No crime, but if
there's no crime in it, but I'll say again what I said before.
Yeah, well,
in that part of the world, in my part of the world, you get what you pay for.
Okay, well, so now he is being canceled, and they're called the media and certain other individuals, community activists, are calling for his resignation because they're saying he posted this hateful tweet. Now, I don't know if it's hateful. I don't know if it's playful. It certainly isn't as offensive as Dr. Seuss.
And what's it say in small letters under COVID-19?
Imported virus from China, CHY-NA.
That's
how Trump says it. Man, that makes that makes all the difference because it's spelled how Trump says it.
No, it's referring to China, blaming the virus on China. The guy's a police officer, for Christ's sakes. I'm sure that
he's
they
entitled
were
to his private opinion.
Okay, so wait a second. We said Sheriff. Okay, what if this was Sheriff Mack?
Sheriff Mack is dumber than this. Sheriff Mack wouldn't enforce the ordinance.
Well, that's what
you talk
I'm
about
saying.
apathy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You got on his case for that, which I think is duly right.
Absolutely.
Well, look at this.
Well, this guy's like a sergeant or captain. He ain't the sheriff. He's not an elected person.
Guess what?
He's some guy that gets paid to show up and investigate crimes.
That's right.
He's not a public speaker.
Key word is being paid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, anyway,
if you're being paid, you can be fired.
He's okay. Well, I think it's ridiculous that this man is in fear for his job. Just my humble opinion. He should be in fear for his job for saying something stupid, but not because somebody found a picture that he shared on Twitter.
All right.
Well, I'll say this. I think anyone who's in the public eye should always fear for their job.
Right.
Always. Because it leads to a certain standard of behavior.
Yeah.
Next. The medical marijuana bill set to move out of one committee, not two committees, just one, Paul. So the State House Judiciary Committee.
Well, right. Fear and Politics medical marijuana bill set to move out of one committee by Dale Leach. This is your Lanyap. Those of you that read Lanyap, offered free in the newsstands, or you can get it online. Probably get more information there than you will through any of the other papers. But in the bill, Senator Tim Melson from Fairfield is the one that took issue with Dr. I think that was Ralston, and they were talking about medical marijuana is not medicine. And he took offense with that bill and said that, and also that it would grow government. And he was arguing with the former senator was in office, and he helped create the Alabama Office of Information Technology. I don't think that you can say that government growth is important. Is important to you, and mine is not. Melson said, yes, it grows government, but it helps keep it safe. Now, something related to the medical marijuana thing is a decriminalization bill, and that's been introduced by Bobby Singleton, Democrat, Greensboro. Would make it a simple possession of marijuana as a finable offense. The bill would make possession of marijuana in the first degree a Class C misdemeanor, punishable only by a fine of no more than $250.
Can I interrupt you for a second? The state of Alabama would be bankrupt if that bill passed. I'm in court all the time, and I see the fines and fees that come out of every single district court hearing.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's half the damn money going into the coffers out of district court. What aren't DUIs and traffic tickets? Possession of marijuana second. Anyway, keep going.
Well, I don't understand your point. You're saying that there'd be so many people busted or what?
No, sir. I'm saying the state of Alabama would go broke if this thing passed because all they do is arrest people for possession of marijuana and charge them $1,000. If they're going to reduce it down to a Class C misdemeanor and it's a maximum of $200 fine, the state of Alabama will be raising your taxes because they won't be able to afford the court system anymore. It's half the revenue coming into the state is possession of marijuana second.
My God.
It's probably not that much, but it's a considerable chunk.
Well,
or what I physically see in court are people pleading guilty all day long to possession of marijuana, paying $1,500 fine, $725 in court fees, and then their own color code, paying the people at Baldwin Court Services to P-test them for 2 years.
What quantity?
Doesn't matter, any amount. It's
it's
a personal use.
A personal use.
It's any discernible amount up to so many ounces.
Well, those convicted of a second time of possession would be punishable by a fine not to exceed $500. A third conviction would be punishable by a fine of $750. The bill allows those charged but not convicted of possession to seek expungement of their records. Possession of less than 2 ounces of marijuana is punishable by a fine not to exceed $250 and no subsequent charge. So we'll see where that goes. We know where, well, the next one I was going to say, we know where the lottery went, but you want to go into that right now?
No. Let's, I got another local, another Alabama House story. So the House passed, of course, there are a lot of podcasts have been talking about this for a while. Joe Rogan, who's big into sports and a big podcaster, was talking about the Australians still haven't done anything about it. And they have a transgender, I guess it'd be a transgender female athlete who was born a man who's broke every damn powerlifting record on the continent. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those kind of things are, I don't know if they're concerning, but if you got girls softball and you got a transgender boy that can knock it over the fence every time he gets up to bat, I understand the issue. I mean, all the records would fall. It's the same reason we don't consider Mark McGwire the greatest home run hitter of all times. Asterisk. But is this something that should have been left up to local school boards, or the NCAA, or the whatever the local derivation of that is? With all
our problems, this was up on the priority list.
Exactly. My point exactly. Thank you.
Well, let's go back to that real quick. So,
what do you want to play?
You don't feel like that the government of your state should in any way be involved with regulating school sports?
No, not really. I think that is something that should be handled at the local school board level which is why we have local school boards. And what really boggles my mind about Republicans from Alabama is that they don't understand a cornerstone of conservatism, or at least in my mind, is that you should let people make the people that make decisions should be closest to the people, which is why we give cities home rule and give them all kind of authority. The reason I'm pointing this out is this is nothing but grandstanding. It's a national issue. The state legislatures of this country are America's test kitchen, and we are the nuclear test kitchen for the Republican Party. Any bad idea they want to float gets introduced here, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi. That's why this.
Okay,
that's why this goes back.
Fair enough. So, but if it came down to local governments making that decision, even based on a case-by-case instance, I mean, at some point there may need to be policy.
There might be, but if you follow my logic to conclusion, there will be all these little school boards, and they'll make these decisions, and somebody's going to sue, and it's going to get up to the appellate level, and the courts will give us some direction on this sometime in the future. But the legislature is going to come in, and this is a front burner issue that was more, they did this. Well, this passed on the same day that they passed an $8 billion education budget. Did you know that? This is as important as budgeting for all of the public schools in Alabama. It's crazy.
Okay, well, 110 years ago, there wasn't any legislation on fairness in sports or funding in sports for women's programs. Yet now we've had that legislated, and the courts have sorted that, and we have Title IX.
Correct.
100 years ago, there wasn't anything about any of that stuff. 100 years from now, this could be an issue that is very well regulated.
Right.
Because as we spoke before, the generational gap continues.
That's if you win. If I win, all of this will be off the table for state legislatures, and it'll be a local matter that will be decided by the local school board and the parents who have input with the people who are making the decisions, not 67 people that have never met anybody in Baldwin County going to make decisions for every kid in Baldwin County. Virus numbers: 29.6 million infected in the U.S., 539,835 dead.
And what about Alabama spiking, or Baldwin County?
Well, get there in a second.
We're still up around 50,000 cases a day.
Yes. So globally, 121,958,304 cases worldwide, with 2,693,889 deaths. The United States is knocking on the door of 30 million infections with 539,000 deaths.
Wow.
And you can see the drop, and we're having a little bit of a resurgence nationally, but nothing.
A lot of that is because of the newest variant, the B117 variant. That has about a 64% increase in the death risk and is exponentially more transmissible. And we're seeing that while the existing vaccines have efficacies against that, the new variant is much more resilient, and it is spreading, and it's spreading like wildfire. It's the one they call the UK variant. And I don't know if I'm not going to be the scientist that says it's the one mostly responsible for the uptick in these numbers. However, I will say that when you drop things that are effective, like mask mandates and, well, I'll just say mask mandates. When you drop a mask mandate, you're asking for something like this to catch on like wildfire, and I think that's what we're seeing.
So 510,000 cases in Alabama with 10,425 deaths. And this is the spike that Paul's talking about. And I just think it's a lag in testing. I mean, I just think
it's a lag in reporting
and everything we had the other day.
You can't take a spike like that and attribute it to anything other than ledger management. I mean, if you study statistics and things like that, you can't see a 5,000% spike and say, oh, that's because of something practical. No, it's 99.99% of the time a reporting issue.
So these are they didn't give an update for the doses administered. I guess they were updating that for Friday, but you can see that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is now being tracked along with Moderna and Pfizer. Did you guys hear that Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, there were some issues with it related to blood clots?
Yeah, but that's kind of water under the bridge now.
The $1.9 trillion COVID relief package passed, and you guys got your $1,400?
I hadn't
either.
No.
My daughter got hers.
Oh, hell. I should get
No,
mine.
I know several people that already got their check, like on Tuesday.
All right, Paul. You're up, man.
All right, we'll go to Lanyap. Another article by Gabe Times, gunning for it. Sheriff aims to fight the federal sex discrimination lawsuit. This is Mobile County Sheriff Sam Cochran has been dismissive of claims for years that he has fostered a hostile work environment where female correction officers are routinely subjected to sexual harassment by male inmates. And as I said, this has been going on for years. Finally, the case was filed and ended up with the EEOC. And under Title VII, it's a federal statute that prohibits employment discrimination on the basis of sex, race, color, national origin, religion. And the Sheriff's Department continues to work with the Department of Justice to resolve a decades-old complaint regarding health care and mental health care at the Metro Jail. And Cochran says that those are two unrelated issues. In a news release last week, the Department of Justice confirmed it was seeking a monetary settlement in this case. This is not their first case against the Sheriff's Department. Nobody deserves to be sexually harassed while on the job, said Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General Pamela S. Carlin of the Civil Rights Division. The behavior of which these female employees were subjected to is appalling, and the county's failure to take action to protect its employees from such conduct is inexcusable. One thing I will say is that would have to be one heck of a hard thing to monitor, and certainly women shouldn't be subjected to all of that, but I don't know how you're going to incarcerate these guys. Some of them having mental problems and stuff like that. Some of them being in jail and just don't give a damn, not harassing women guards. So that looks like it's going to be quite a challenge, to tell you the truth. We'll see where it goes. But, our prison system has also been raked over the coals by the Department of Justice. So it does look like our prisons and jails have systemic problems that they have had forever that never seem to get fixed. Next is rolling the dice. Legislators explain the vote against the gambling bill. This is by Gabe Times. Senator Dale Marsh widely promoted the comprehensive gambling bill, which included suggestions made by a statewide commission on the gaming policy. And building on years worth of previous failures, this was defeated after gaining only 19 of 21 votes required. 13 Republican senators, including Sessions and Chris Elliott, locally voted against the bill. Now, why did one of Mobile's county legislator?
No. Taxman.
Elliott. Taxman Elliott,
Yeah,
right.
Taxman.
But why did one of the Mobile County legislator vote against the casino, gaming, and lottery bill that would have directly benefited his district more than most? Senator David Sessions of Grand Bay, whose District 35 contains one of only five sites statewide that was approved in this bill. Now, what's the Maritime Museum? That would make one outrageous casino downtown.
So the city of Mobile spent $16 million on this concrete 3-story monstrosity with no parking.
Right. The whole thing is, that it looks like a ship. It's made out of concrete and it's sunk. But it'd be a great casino. Anyway, the taxman Elliott in Baldwin County said that he was uncomfortable with the scope of the bill, and that he is an advocate for the standalone lottery.
Really? Because before all this, he said whatever the governor's task force came up with, he'd support it.
Right. This is flip-flopping taxman all over again, but if these two men could have broken this thing, we could have had the lottery. We could have moved on with this. This way, here's what gets me. He wants a standalone lottery, but he doesn't want this. And that's the thing that's been batting this back and forth. But no one's getting any revenue. And we're 21, 22 years in talking about this and saying that we need to study it more when every state around us is successfully doing it. So it doesn't speak too much for our legislators. In Daphne, Gabe Times, boy, he worked this paper this day. Coming soon, Lake Forest prepares to open a renovated yacht club. This is the Lake Forest property, and any of you that know anything about Daphne, Lake Forest is one of the property owners associations that you hear about all the time. I mean, one way or another, they're complaining about one thing or another. John Lake was a former city council of Daphne, and he was elected over there to take on the job. And I must tell you that in the 15 or 20 years I've been watching it, no one has been successful at doing anything like this. So congratulations to John. And as I understand it, he's not running in the next election on the Lake Forest Property Association, but they have a brand new renovated building down there on the bay. They're going to have.
Can I stop you for a second? And, and so the entrance to one of the entrances to Lake Forest is over by Lowe's, across from the hospital in Daphne.
Right.
The hospital you can see from the interstate right there.
Correct.
So where the yacht club is over by my office on 98. It's actually on the water. Right. I mean, the structure, and it's a bar and restaurant.
Right.
And there are some condominiums behind it that are part of Lake Forest. But if you go to Lake Forest and look for the yacht club, you ain't going to find it. It's not in the subdivision. It's owned by the subdivision, but it's over on the water for their use.
Right. And many, many years ago, I even made a run at that thing. I could see doing something down there, but
it's real shallow water there in front of it.
I couldn't deal with
Not a good place
and I couldn't deal with the association. That's the problem with a lot of these. Jerry Seinfeld, those of you who watch Jerry Seinfeld, one of the funniest ones I saw was about condo associations, and he called it condoism, and it couldn't be any closer to the truth.
Exactly.
There's always an expert in the condo association on every subject. No matter what the subject is, there's an expert. Okay. Last but not least, I mention this because I don't know. It's called Flushed Out. AG's office sues MAWSS for sewer overflows. That's the Mobile area water and sewer system. That's the latest utility. I think they've also gone after Fairhope as well. But here we have the AG's office worried about the sewer. The sewer they ought to be worried about is the corruption in our politics. That's the sewer. What's going in the bay doesn't stink half as bad as that sewer.
If this was privately owned, they wouldn't get hit with shit.
Right.
But since they're the Mobile Area Water and Sewer Authority, and you got to remember, MAWSS is like county-wide.
Right.
This isn't like downtown Mobile. MAWSS is all over the place.
Correct. So, but still, I mean, I don't see the AG's office doing anything about white-collar crime, political corruption, judicial corruption, and that brings us all the way back around to the damn, McSharry case and the way that's being handled judicially over in Fairhope.
So I got a couple that you missed.
Yeah, go ahead.
That I thought were important. The Coca-Cola tank manufacturer expanding local facility, $50 million capital investment, another 94 jobs. Not too damn shabby.
No, that's not. Where is that?
Mobile.
That's Mobile.
Yes, sir. And then Alabama's capital riot suspects, where their cases stand. So if you give a damn about these people, go read all about it at AL.com.
And the arrests now are up close to, I think, 500.
So, Paul, you've been covering the McSharry thing for a while. You know, you wrote an article called The Barstool.
Right.
And then the Barstool continued last year about this time. You went to, so McSharry had his day in court, or at least one day in court. Was it Tuesday?
Tuesday.
And at some point in the case, I guess both lawyers got up and gave their opening statements to the jury.
Correct.
And then the rule was invoked. I guess you know what the hell the rule is now, but have you ever heard of it before?
Well, I didn't think the rule was applicable to the.
Well, I don't think it's applicable either. So why don't you tell it from your perspective, and then I'll tell everybody about the Alabama Rule of Evidence 615.
Okay. First of all, you know, the Ripp report and myself, I'm a consumer advocate, and I am an advocate for people that may be in, God forbid, divorce court. Say a roofer takes advantage of you, contractor, could be anything, right? And Paula Donardi was, let me back up. First I was contacted 2 or 3 years ago about Nall the artist, and he was harassed by Mr. McSharry, drunk, came into his business, threatened him.
Allegedly.
And
but he was convicted of that and put on probation.
He was convicted of that, put on probation. So we said, okay, well, cool. Maybe that'll cool his heels, you know. But no, he didn't. Shortly got into trouble by knocking this girl off the bar stool. So
allegedly,
we'll
show him the video too.
Well, I'm not going to say it's allegedly. She got knocked off the bar stool.
Right.
And that's what's so crazy about this, just like slapping Mike over there in Spanish Fort. We see it. It's on camera. We can hear it. But no, then the lawyers and the judge say, oh, no, it ain't that bad, you know. Well, here's another case. But I'm in court, and I'm in court as an advocate. I am not there as a fact witness. I have not been.
And you're not a party.
Right. I haven't been subpoenaed or anything else. I'm there just to see what's going on and to support her. So the defense and prosecution make their opening statements, and then they say that they wish the witnesses to step outside the courtroom, which is customary as the trial begins. And then all of a sudden say, well, Your Honor, we would also like Mr. Ripp to be removed because we may be calling him as a witness. Well, I tried to get the attention of the judge, and I couldn't do that. So to be respectful, I left the room. But when I was outside, then Mr. McDowell, the city attorney for Fairhope, and remember, I'm an advocate for Paula Donardi, and he is supposed to be an advocate attorney for Paula Donardi. You would think that he would want me to be there and that he would bring me in so I could talk about the Nall case and introduce that, but no. So anyway, I asked Mr. McDowell, I said, look, why are you calling me as a witness? And he wouldn't answer me. And I said, are you calling me as a witness? I haven't been subpoenaed to be here, and I don't want to stay here all damn day if I'm not going to be called in court. And then he said, well, you're not subpoenaed. So at that, I took it to just go ahead and leave.
So you'd been excluded from the courtroom, and you had been stymied outside by his
correct
him invoking and just for lay people, lawyers don't stand up and say, Judge, I'd like to invoke Alabama Rule of Evidence 615. We just call it the rule. And everybody knows what the rule is when you're about to get started. And everybody turns around and points at their witnesses and says, you got to get out of here, because if you sit here and I try to call you, the judge ain't going to let you testify.
Right.
So let me ask you this. Were you at the Little Whiskey Christmas Club on November 28th, 2018?
No,
Did you witness any of this?
no,
Were you on the street and saw Mr. McSharry in public intoxicated?
no.
So how in the hell could they throw you out of a courtroom if you weren't going to be a fact witness?
That's the way
and you
it
knew
goes.
nothing about the public intoxication charge.
Listen, Fairhope City Council, we took to federal court over not allowing us to speak at public participation. And we prevailed in that case. Last week, they pulled the stunt of replacing a council person without public participation and worked it in such a way as to where no one could speak to the issue until it happened. Now we go to court and they do the same thing in court. Let's make sure that this man is not in here to where he can't see what's going on. And, you know, we'll just enforce our power as it is and not even let him sit in the courtroom. I'll tell you what,
I don't know if there was I don't know that there was any nefarious reason for wanting you out of the courtroom, but they sure showed you whose sandbox you were in, didn't they?
Correct. Correct.
That's what I take from it more than anything.
Oh, well, I take what I take from it is a level of corruption that goes from the municipal to the circuit court. And I don't know what it's going to take for, you know, like I said earlier, the thing that gets me the most is the case in Spanish Fort and this case here in Fairhope both involve women. My God, if this happened in Southside Birmingham, I'm telling you what, that person be out of office, fired, or something would happen within a week. Women would be protesting, raising hell. They would never go to that bar. They'd be outside selling T-shirts saying, ban this place. Just don't even go in it. But yet here in Fairhope, everybody just sits around like nothing's going on. Well, look, they're tromping on Paula Donardi's rights and mine. Those are your rights too. And you better wake up, because this council and this city council in Fairhope and what's going on over here is out of control.
So, Range, you've covered plenty of trials. You ever heard of anything like this before?
No, I haven't. And when the few times that they've, I've even seen cases where they invoke the rule and there've had to been chamber arguments about it.
Right.
I've never in history, in 10 years of covering courts, never saw a person ushered out or ordered to leave. I think the judges that I had the fortunate circumstance to cover in Mississippi may not have been the greatest judges of all time, but they knew better than to draw the wrath of the public and excluding someone from their courtroom. But then again, that was the incredibly enlightened Jackson County, Mississippi, which makes Baldwin County look like Hazard County. So,
isn't that the cat food capital of the world?
no.
Well, now this McSharry case, Harry, takes another turn this coming Tuesday.
Yeah, I can't talk about that.
You can't talk about
I can't,
that.
but y'all can.
Yeah, well, that will be, I don't really want to talk about it too much either, because I'm curious now to see what in the hell is going to happen now. But I think
the civil case proceeds on Tuesday.
Correct. And I think Judge Stankowski should recuse himself from hearing that case. That's my opinion.
Well, you ain't a party.
Well,
only
I know,
a party.
I know I'm not a party, and I hope that a party to it mentions that, because he shouldn't be hearing this case. There's obviously some prejudice here.
Make sure I got everybody.
And I tell you what, just anybody finds out there what Ronan McSharry's got over the city of Fairhope that makes them so scared that they got to let him off, just let me know. And I sure hope somebody out there gets enough guts to either write listen, nothing from the city council, nothing from the mayor, nothing from anybody in Fairhope about this case. Not one thing. However, the last mayor that we had brought it up to the police chief and told him that something should be done, but not now. Oh, and let's not let me get away without saying that it should be noted that Ronan McSharry is the best friend of the council president, Jack Burrell. Go figure.
I think the greatest thing to come from all of this, especially since we are a podcast of opinion and commentary,
with an attorney who's tap dancing on a landmine.
I can say right now that I think it's fantastic that we finally cleared the air about McSharry's Irish Pub, okay, right down there at 101 North Bancroft Street in Fairhope, Alabama. I think it's fantastic that they are entertaining the idea of hosting Black Spring Break next year. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a wonderful idea. And I think that the owner should be commended for even considering it.
It really church Fairhope up too.
And I think that there's a lot of people out there that need to hear that. And I'm glad that we're able to say things like that, being protected by the First Amendment as we are.
Oh, and everybody should also note that Mr. McSharry is a green card holder. He's not a citizen of the United States. Now, at any other time, we'd have the city council screaming and yelling about immigrant this and immigrant that. But if you're his friend and you're an immigrant and you happen to be a white immigrant, then there's no problem.
Everybody knows, Paul, that the double underlined word immigration issues in this country have nothing to do with immigrants from Norway or Belarus or Sweden or Italy.
Really. And let's forget that the entire country was founded on immigrants.
One more thing about the federal stimulus bill, it includes money that would allow Alabama to pay for Medicaid expansion if we so chose to do so. Of course, we would then have to come up with the money ourselves to keep it expanded after the COVID money ran out.
Right. We've already left Bentley left $3.2 billion on the table that time. So, I don't know. And also let's make note of the fact that instead of having to come up with the 10%, now it's only 5%. So Alabama only has to come up with 5% to get the money for the Medicaid, and they still won't do it.
So Raines, do you know who Robert Durst guy?
Right.
The Jinx. Have you ever watched the documentary where he admits, like hot mic in the bathroom, that he killed that woman? Anyway.
No, I'm familiar with the case, but I haven't seen the documentary.
Anyway, it's well worth your time. It's really kind of just unbelievable that something like that could happen in real life, but it did. And if you're looking for something else to watch this weekend and you have HBO Max and you have 4.5, it's kind of like a train trip from Mobile to New Orleans. If you got 4.5 hours to kill, check out Zack Snyder's director's cut of Justice League.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that tonight.
Well, trust me, at 2 hours and 45 minutes, you finally go, golly, how long is this movie? And you find out it's 4 hours long and you got too much time invested not to watch the whole thing. But much more Dark Knight-ish than the theatrical release. So anyway, if you're looking for something to do and you're all hungover and you swore to God you'd never drink again like I did Thursday morning, maybe that's something you can do this weekend. Check out those movies. All right, Raines, what's going on with y'all this weekend out in Houston?
Oh, absolutely nothing. My son's birthday is tomorrow. He turns 12. We're celebrating that and hanging out, being quarantined, taking as many steps to prevent it as possible till we get shots in arms.
How about you, Paul?
I'm not going to McSharry's, and I would hope that anybody there in Fairhope would boycott the place. Don't go. And where are you, the women in Fairhope?
That's from the Ripp Report, Consumer Protection Agency.
That's right. That's from me. I want to take credit on it, please. And I want to see those young Republican women and all those women groups over there in Fairhope. How about getting together and standing up for a few women? Catch the Ripp Report.
I think it would be fantastic for the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club Mobile chapter, along with the Banditos chapter of Pensacola, to make McSharry's Irish Pub their new headquarters. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah,
and would be a great thing.
All right, guys, y'all have a good weekend. We survived some weather this week. There was tornadoes all north of us.
Nasty.
Real bad weather. Everybody down here, spring break's in full force. I don't know how many extra 100,000, probably an extra 50,000 people in Baldwin County right now.
I heard the other day 165 tickets in Orange Beach alone.
Yeah. So anyway, Spring break is in full force and effect, and hopefully none of them brought the plague with them. Y'all have a good weekend. We'll see you next time.
Later.
Previously on Prison Break.
Previously on Desperate Housewives.
Previously on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Previously on Brothers and Sisters.
Previously on 24.
Previously on Damages.
The one thing I want to talk about mostly tonight is the Paula Donardi case and McSharry. Now this with McSharry's been going on for over 10 years. I've advocated for 3 different people in the McSharry case. And Mr. McSharry is a public nuisance. This has been going on 10 years. He has an established police record. He's also a green card holder, for Christ's sakes. This council owes it to Ms. Donardi some sort of explanation, or you're going to find yourself sued. And the other thing is, I've come to numerous meetings where when you give an ABC license, you ask the police chief or you ask the police, are there any comments? Is there any reason this person shouldn't have their license? What's going on here? This has been going on 10 years. Is this how we treat women? This is on video. And then we failed, Mr. McDowell, failed from the beginning to the end on this thing, and the assault charge is supposed to go away. I find it interesting that the assault charge is going to go away when the assault charge would have taken away his license. Now we're being told that the intoxication charge is the same sentence, so it'd be the same thing, and we don't have to charge him for the assault. This woman's got $6,500, $7,000 worth of medical bills that were presented to the city immediately. And nothing's happened. So now the citizens of this community expect that the municipal judge, the circuit judge, the municipal attorney, everybody erred in this to where Mr. McSharry walks. I can tell you right now, 10 years ago when I started this, and it was McSharry, I told him, I said, he'll do it again, and he did. And then it was Null, and I said, watch, he'll do it again, and he did. And now it's Paula Donardi. And in between there, he did it 4 or 5 times where he walked out or citizens didn't press charges. I think you're in a very bad position, and this looks horribly bad. I think the council should take some sort of action on this. Every one of these charges with McSharry are alcohol related. Every single one. And every one except Null involves a woman. Don't tell me we can't do better than this. This is you. This is the council. This is on you. You can do something about this. And you should. I hope that you will read Untimely Filed in the Lanyap and that you've been following this case in the Lanyap, because they are printing some very, very disturbing facts in here. We're not hearing anything from anybody as a justification or explanation of what went on. Also hope you read the Straw Man series in Lanyap, because you'll see some of my future allegations starting to pop up by other people in court involving members of the council. On the McSharry case, you need to do something. This is not right, it's not fair, it's not justice, and it's a very, very bad look as to how we treat women in this town. And it's on video, for Christ's sakes.
I'm going to add to that and be on record that I did ask Marcus, our city attorney, to recuse himself from this case because his firm dropped the ball on it with his wife, and I knew it was going to happen, and here we are today. It is absolutely deplorable. There is no excuse for it, and we have to do better. There's no excuse for it.
Did you want to make some comments?
Yeah,
Mr. McDowell?
both to the mayor and Mr. Ripp. I could explain criminal procedure and criminal law to you, but to be honest with you, I can't make you ever understand it because you don't want to. It's a political issue for both of you, and there are criminal issues that are still proceeding against Mr. McSharry. Rule 15.1 Alabama Rules of Criminal Procedure allow us to refile this. We plan on refiling it. Out of the 60, 70,000 cases that I've dealt with over the last 10 to 12 years in this city, I have never drafted or authored one complaint, not one. It is not my job to do it. I did not do it in this case.
You missed the deadline.
Mayor, I'm talking.
You missed the deadline.
No, Mayor, that's not right.
Yes, you did.
I dismissed the appeal because it is quicker to get this case to trial if we go back and refile it as a new complaint. The rules of criminal procedure, again, I told you, I can explain.
No, you haven't told me anything because you don't talk to me.
I just said that to you. I can tell you that. I will never make you understand it because you don't want to understand it. Okay?
You always tell me I don't understand something, and it is the most ridiculous thing ever because I have other attorneys looking at this, and they know that what is going on is wrong.
You hadn't talked to an attorney that knows anything about rules, and wherever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So are you saying that Matt McDonald doesn't understand the rules?
Okay. Can he finish?
It doesn't matter. He absolutely knows what happened here.
Okay, I would like to hear the rest of what the attorney has to say about this. I mean, he was attacked. I want to hear the defense.
In that case, we tried the defendant in the case. He was convicted in this court in a trial. He then appealed it. A judge dismissed the case. We appealed that. Based on a COVID order, we had a time frame to appeal the case that was extended to April 20th. We filed our appeal on the 17th. There was a subsequent COVID order that said there was non-jurisdictional issues that were not included in the original COVID order, and so we elected to dismiss our appeal. We then we are now going to move to refile the complaint pursuant to rule, I believe it's 15.1, that allows us to do that. It tolls the statute of limitations. That case will be retried here. That is a much quicker venue for the victim and for the witnesses in this case than going back and issuing a 1.5 to 2-year appeal process and then coming back and have to try it. So it's just specious and just you don't know what you're talking about, and you don't.
I absolutely know what I'm talking about on this, and you know what? I asked for a full report on this, and Matt asked you too. I just let you speak. I am going to speak too. Okay.
I'll let you get a chance, but can he please finish? He hasn't finished yet.
Yeah. This case, the old cases were consolidated, and they were told, we talked to the victim in the case who moved out of state. Your complaints about how it was screwed up was nothing to do with us, nothing to do with me.
The victim wasn't called, and I verified with Tut that she should have been called.
Second.
I'm going to say something here.
Do it after the meeting, Mayor. You're holding us up, and we don't agree with anything you're saying. So wait, and all you got to do is interrupt this gentleman. You will not let him speak.
The whole time.
I make a motion we adjourn this meeting.
That's fine. I'll continue videoing this.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay.
You guys do a lot of shouting at women. Mr. Holbert and damn the torpedoes, Supreme's missed the case to set the judge right. Meanwhile, as Stankowski oversaw the civil case, he allowed McSharry's attorney to run amok with a bunch of insane allegations that had absolutely zero bearings on whether McSharry had knocked Donardi off the bar stool and hurt her. The judge let attorney James Pittman go wild with a wacko theory that this newspaper, Fairhope Mayor Karen Wilson, blogger, myself, Paul Ripp, and attorney Harry Steele were working in cohorts to destroy McSharry's already destroyed reputation. I'm glad that he wrote it that way.
Just like we've been destroying the reputation of Sheriff Mack and some of these other guys, you know,
right?
Like they need our help.
Oh, well, at the center of it will be the guy who really shouldn't be is the guy that shouldn't really be on the bench. Holbert refers to Stankowski as Stanky, and I can assure you that little nickname is going to stick. And if you voted, he goes on to say, if you voted for Stanky, I urge you to pay close attention to him for the next couple of years. If you're someone with integrity who understands and cares about the law and won't be a good old boy backwater judge, consider running. Baldwin deserves better. And that is true. We need better judges. And this type of stuff is just completely corrupt. And I remind you folks that just last week, we had these slapping Macmillan there, slapping Mike, you know, walked away from his thing with Judge Reed, where Judge Reed said, so what does the court do? Now, remember, this is all on video. And Reed says, so
both
what does, yeah, both of these. So what does the court do? You have to fall back on the law, he said. The state is not required to convince guilt beyond all doubt, but beyond all reasonable doubt. I have to say in this case, because of the contradictory nature of evidence, which I don't understand what was so contradictory. It was on film. My mind, his mind, Reed, which I think is probably pretty shallow, my mind is left in the condition where I cannot say the defendant is guilty beyond all reasonable doubt, so I find the defendant not guilty.
And you got to remember, I was there for the cross of the victim witness, and the judge let all of this testimony come in that had nothing to do. It was all things that allegedly happened after the mayor slapped the magistrate. Why in the hell was that let into evidence?
And
why wasn't there an objection by the state?
And things got weirder and weirder.
And one more time, go back to this case. There, you know, the McSharry case, they're saying, oh, well, all these things happened after the incident. I mean, how in the hell can you and I be involved in a conspiracy that happened after he knocked her off the bar stool?
Well, where it really got weird was 5 days after the suit was filed, the presiding circuit court judge Clark Stankowski personally asked Judge Jody Bishop
I don't think
case.
you should say that, but you go right ahead. You're a big boy and you can say what you want to.
I'm reading it.
Okay.
If he wants to call him Stanky, I think that's pretty good. And look, folks, I'll tell you something. You think you're not going to get anything in court. You go to court, you don't have any assurance of anything fair coming to you. The only thing that we found through the Ripp report that works is public humiliation, bringing this out in the public, letting the public know what's going on behind their back. Judge Stankowski personally asked Judge Jody Bishop to transfer the case to his docket. It was originally signed to Bishop, but he told Lanyap Stankowski asked for the new case because he had presided over an appeal for an unrelated criminal conviction with McSharry had in Fairhope. Municipal court for drunkery and threatening artist Noel Hollis in 2017. Now, McSharry's case comes up.
I think it's called public intoxication.
Well, that's
I like drunkery better, though.
Drunkery, public drunkery.
It's called. He's got it in here as drunkery. I'm reading it, but
it must have been the 1890 criminal code.
Now that case is this week, isn't it, Harry? Or
I think it was yesterday.
I don't know what happened on that. You could Google that and see what happened. Public intox. They probably let him walk and gave him a bottle of scotch to go with it. Anyway, folks, if you're not worried about your judges and you're not worried about what's going on around here, sooner or later it's going to touch you, and then you're going to get interested. But this case really, really stinks. I hope everybody follows it. And any women, why in the world you would ever take your family to McSharry's to that restaurant, I do not know, but that's up to you.
So, Paul, are you aware that if you want to make a claim against a municipality, you have to inform the circuit? I'm sorry, not the circuit clerk, the city clerk within 6 months of the incident.
Right.
So from the time Marcus McDowell failed to refile the criminal complaint that you were talking about that was dismissed and they gave him another opportunity and he didn't do it, Ms. Donardi had 6 months to file a claim. And there were two different ways you could go with it. And the reason nobody wanted to touch the case is it's almost impossible to prove negligence when you were doing your job in your official capacity. Remember how we talked about all this qualified immunity?
Right.
Right.
Protecting you if you made an honest mistake.
So Ms. Donardi filed a certified statement of claim with the city against the city saying, you did this. It wasn't negligence. You did it on purpose, and we're going to prove you did it on purpose. So the fireworks are far from over with, and oh, let's not forget this. I'm sleeping with the sword hanging over me. You know, Stankowski has ordered me to turn over all of my communications with the Lanyap newspaper. Some of them may be attorney-client privilege information of yours, Mr. Ripp, or some other clients.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and if I did that, you probably wouldn't file a bar complaint against me, but Ms. Donardi would, and the Lanyap would, and I would be disbarred. That's the kind of bizarre things that go on in a county where the sheriff is in charge, and that's all I'll say about it.
Yep,
I'm looking forward to it.
Pay attention to your judges. The only way you're going to change it is the same thing we're going through today, and that's voting. If you don't vote, don't bitch.
Well, just in time for St. Patrick's Day, crowds are coming by the dozens to get an up-close view at what some say is a piece of Irish folklore.
Some people in the Crichton area of Mobile say a leprechaun is taking up residence in their neighborhood. A leprechaun. NBC 15's Brian Johnson has more.
Curiosity leads to large crowds in Mobile's Crichton community, many of you bringing binoculars, camcorders, even camera phones to take pictures.
To me, it look like a leprechaun to me. All you gotta do is look up in the tree. Who else seen the leprechaun say yeah?
Eyewitnesses say the leprechaun only comes out at night. If you shine a light in its direction, it suddenly disappears. This amateur sketch resembles what many of you say the leprechaun looks like. Others find it hard to believe and have come up with their own theories and explanations for the image.
My theory is it's casting a shadow from the other limb.
Could be a crackhead that got hold to the wrong stuff, and it told him to get up in a tree and play a leprechaun.
We're going to get down to the bottom of this. Yeah, it's still on there, guy. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, man.
This guy helping to direct traffic says he's prepared for his encounter with the leprechaun. He's suited up from head to toe.
This wars off spells right here. This is a special leprechaun flute, which has been passed down from thousands of years ago from my great-great-grandfather who was Irish. I just came to help out.
Others just came to get lucky in hopes a pot of gold may be buried under this tree.
I'm gonna run a backhoe and uproot that tree. I want to know where the gold is. I want the gold. Give me the gold. I want the gold.
This is Brian Johnson, NBC 15 News.
People will do anything for a pot of gold. I mean, anything.
You know what I like? I like the amateur sketch of the leprechaun.
Yeah,
it looks like somebody got a really good look at it and got that good drawing out there.
Who did that? I want to know who sketched that.
I don't know. Maybe Brian sketched
it. Doodling.
That was a good story.